Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Rasoham apsu kaunteya prabhasmi shashi suryayoho pranavah sarvavedeshu shabda kei paurusham rishu. O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. As you probably know, Prabhupada used to quite often quote this verse in reply to the proposition. Many people say, can you show me God? So Prabhupada would say that you should see God in the way He tells you to see Him. Not that you demand, come here immediately. If you don't come here immediately, then I won't believe in you and you won't exist. But Prabhupada would often quote this, that we can perceive the existence of Bhagavan in everything. Here, Lord Krishna has stated some examples of how He can be perceived as the essence or the active principle of everything. What is the essential principle of water? Taste. We cannot taste without water. So water, you can say it also has wetness. In the Bhagavatam, the description of some of the qualities of water are given. Its wetness, ability to dissolve other things, ability to cool other things. But the most important principle of water is taste. And the most important principle of the sun and the moon is the light that they give. In the modern age we have neon lights, but in the village where there's no electric, if you're walking in the fields, it's quite possible to do so. Now it's Purnima, tomorrow, so you can do so. But around the time of Amavasya, even your hand in front of your face you can hardly see. Elsewhere in Bhagavad-gita, Lord Krishna describes how the light of the moon gives succulence, which is also rasam, to the vegetables. Kama vishajabhutani dharayami ahamojasa pushnami choshadhi sarva somo bhutva rasatmakaha. Rasatmakaha, the moon is made up of rasa. So Prabhupada would say, how can they say it's only made of dust? It's giving... Then in the Vedas, Pranava Sarva Vedeshu, the essential principle in the Vedas is the sound Om. This is a very deep topic. How Vedic sound is eternally existing. I think Banu Maharaj must have explained this to you sometime. He studied all these things very deeply. I was told last time he gave some lecture on the difference between pran and the other kind of vayus within the body. Was it? Alright, somewhere else. But anyway, very deep understanding. So this Vedic sound, it is always vibrating. It is eternal, apaurushaya. So those who are rishis, meaning of rishi is one who can perceive the Vedic sound. That's why that's translated into English as seer, because they can see the Vedic sound. That's the original meaning of the word rishi. Just like electricity is everywhere, those who know the art, they can tap into that and make use of it. So the basic vibration is that of Omkar. It's a very deep topic. But the point is that the essence of all the Vedic sounds is Om. And then within ether, the essence of the ether element is that it transfers sound. And Paurusham Rishu, ability in man. man is different from an animal by his ability. That's one way of looking at it. That from the spiritual point of view, it's the difference between human and being an animal is defined as dharmo hitesham adhiko vishesham. That the human being has the ability to understand dharma over and above ahara nidra bhaya maitunam cha. So from the standpoint of consciousness, a human being is only differentiated from an animal if he inquires atato brahma jignasa, if he inquires into the absolute truth, or at least follows the principles of varnashram dharma in karma kanda section. Yeah, civilized human life begins with varnashram, which begins with karma kanda. But Vedanta Sutra begins atato brahma jignasa. Now in the human form of life you have the opportunity to go beyond karma kanda, which is concerned with ahara, nidra, bhaya, maitun in a more civilized manner. So, from one perspective, or from the general perspective that we as aspiring spiritualists are trained to see in, human life is only distinguished from animal life by development of consciousness. But nevertheless, as suggested by here, there is a difference between a human being and animal in terms of ability. That's why sometimes people, they become surprised when we say that it's like an animal civilization. They know you have cars and computers and space rockets, so animals can't produce that. That's true. There must be some word for rocket in Sanskrit, because it's an ancient thing also. But we don't. Does anyone know the word? Yeah, Vimanam. Vimanam is more high class than a rocket. Rocket is, it's just like this thing they shoot off from Sri Harikota. It's the same as the Shiva Kasi firework. It's not very developed technology actually. Yeah, basically it's the same the basic technology is the same. You put a big fire underneath and it shoots up. So this Vimanam is more advanced than the Shiva Kasi firework. Anyway, I'm saying you can find out, maybe there should be some Sanskrit word for that. Because even the Fataka, in ancient Vedic culture, Fataka, you say like fireworks? Pat it's Sanskritam. Pat, it's Sanskrit. So Fataka is probably also, they must have been having. Anyway, so man has more ability than the animals, no doubt. So the point that the Acharyas teach us is that ability should be used for paramartha, not simply for artha, not for developing money, but for developing our real necessity, which is Bhagavad-gita. When we think in terms of artha as money and economic development, then artha is always mixed up with ahara nidra bhaya maitun. But paramartha means to become detached from dharma, artha, karma, moksha, and to become attached to the path of getting free from ahara nidra bhaya maitun. So human ability should be used for the highest purpose. But whatever ability is there, Krishna is pointing out, that comes from him only. We praise the great scientists, what great discoveries they have made. We think it's new, there's never been any such thing in human society before. But it's all been here before. The cycle of ages is there. Satya, Treta, Dwarpa, Kali. And in Kali Yuga, people become more machine-oriented. In Shastra, it's stated that yantra vidya, technology, that is for the demons. High-class people, for one thing, they don't require so many machines for sense gratification. And whatever they need, they're just like they don't use some space rocket. They have vimana powered by mantra, so they do it with a higher technology. Just like Balaram, when he killed, of course Balaram can do just by his wish, but when he killed Romaharsha and Sutta, he didn't pull out a machine gun and fill him with bullets. But he just put a piece of grass and just touched it, and like that. Similarly, the Brahmanas, when they, as a political necessity for the benefit of society, they had to kill King Vena, they did so by sound only, by vibrating hum in a certain manner. He was killed. The yagyas, fire, Agnihotra yagya, that yagya should be performed by a proper brahmana who has got mantra siddhi. So you'll see at the beginning of the yagya whether they're suitable brahmanas or not, because they won't bring matches. They'll just invoke Agni Dev and he will come. By mantra they will invoke him, he will come. That's all. So that's more advanced technology. People, they can't do that nowadays because they have no tej. Tej comes from tapasya and from purity and tapasya. But by having more and more machines, we have less and less tapasya. And then we need more and more machines because we can't tolerate a little bit too hot, we have to have air conditioning, a little bit too cold, we have to have heating, and like this. We can't tolerate any tapasya at all. But we don't see how much tapasya we have to go through to get those machines. Someone has to go inside the earth and dig up some iron ore and make some big factory, and then people, they're working so hard just to get some money. So that is ugra karma, that is horrible work. Therefore, Rishabdev recommended, Tapo divyam putraka yena sattvam yasmat shudyad yasmat brahma sokyam tvananta. Accept that kind of divine austerity which will lead to eternal life, spiritual life. So here are given some examples of how we can perceive Krishna in everyday life. Everyone drinks water, although some devotees from, who is that? Someone from, they're telling me their grandfather in Serbia, he's from Vojvodina, where that's a wine producing area. So he told me he never drank water, he only drank wine. Because it's cheap, they make it home. The water is not so good because frogs come. But they make the wine they get all the grapes and then they walk on their bare feet on it, right, and press all the juice out. That's the traditional system of making. In your country also, in France they do like that. All the people come and press it with their feet and then they make wine, and so. Anyway, it's impure, but then it becomes double impure by the feet. So this is a general knowledge class. You've just learned some of the details of making wine. But actually that is the topic of the verse, how we can see Krishna in everything which even doesn't seem related to Krishna. But wine is also one kind of water. And the content, if you examine, it's depending on the strength of the wine, say maybe approximately 20% alcohol and then 70% water and then some sugar, and if you examine the chemical composition, it's still mostly water. And as Prabhupada explained, that people who are drinking wine, they think this taste is very nice. We don't recommend it, but the wine drinkers, they feel it's very nice. That's why they drink it. It's called lower taste, not higher taste. So Prabhupada said that this knowledge is so practical that even a wine drinker can begin to be Krishna conscious. Even if the to be a Madhya Sevi is not a very high level of, it's sinful actually. But Prabhupada said, even if the wine drinker, when he's drinking wine, he thinks this taste is very nice, this taste is Krishna, because Krishna is the taste in water. So Prabhupada said one day he'll become a great devotee. Of course, Prabhupada didn't go all over the world preaching to people to drink wine and think that this is the taste of Krishna. He preached to people to chant Hare Krishna. If you think this taste of wine is Krishna, one day you may become a great devotee. But if you chant Hare Krishna, it'll be a much quicker day. The day will come much sooner. So the Madhya Sevi or Jiva Sevi, the servant of his own tongue, he has to progress from being Madhya Sevi to Krishna Sevi by giving up Madhya Seva. He has a long way to go, because Madhya Seva is not even Madhya Seva, it's Nimna Seva. We have to do the Uttam Seva, which is Krishna Seva. But anyway, Prabhupada showing how, or Krishna is showing, Prabhupada is explaining how everyone at any stage can begin to become Krishna conscious at some level. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, before he took sannyas, sometimes he used to wander throughout Navadvip to all the different areas. So one time he was wandering and he came to the area of the wine drinkers. And his associates told, don't go there, that's not good. Don't go in there. Don't go in that house. That's a Surabari, place of drinking wine. But as it happened, by hearing Mahaprabhu's kirtan, all the drunkards came out to see what was going on. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told them, you chant Hare Krishna. So they all chanted Hare Krishna. And they appreciated Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dancing. They were imitating. Generally, all over the world, whenever our devotees go out for doing Harinam, Sankirtan, somehow all the local drunkards find out and they come and join in. Is it in Croatia also? Everywhere. They always. Maybe because people who are not drunk, they have some kind of mental restriction or something like that. But when you're drunk, you have no consciousness and you just... So better to join in kirtan without being drunk. It's not recommended. It's not that you have to get drunk first and then chant Hare Krishna. We should not be confused about this. We shouldn't think that Bhakti Vikasa Swami came to Tirupati and recommended everyone to get drunk. I'm not saying that. If we're not very clear in understanding what Krishna is teaching, we can become confused. This, what Prabhupada said, the wine drinker, he can become a great devotee one day. This is published in Teachings of Queen Kunti. So that book was made, I think, at least 10 years after Prabhupada disappeared, on Prabhupada's order, based on his lectures on that series of shlokas. Actually, 3 times Prabhupada gave a series of lectures on those verses. He liked those verses very much. So I remember when that tape first became available of this lecture, because in those days Prabhupada was speaking and then they'd make the tape and then they'd become available. There's this Walkman with the tape, cassette tape, that was just like a new high technology thing at the time. So a few devotees had these and they would listen. And we didn't know anything about Krishna consciousness, and Prabhupada was just teaching it to us. So that tape came out. I remember one devotee, he was very confused when he heard it. He said, well, does that mean I should become a wine drinker, or what is that? So it is possible to misunderstand. If we ourselves have crooked intelligence, it's always possible to interpret according to our own desire. Just like there's one story. One Muslim, he stopped coming to the mosque, and then after some time the local mullah came and said, why aren't you coming to the mosque? And he said, well, I got this book, it's written by a great spiritual leader of the Muslim It says right here, one should never go to the mosque. This was just at the end of one page. It was written like that. So the mullah turned over the page and he said, without first washing your hands and legs. So he only read that far and he closed the book and said, okay, that's great, no more going to the mosque. So we might hear, Prabhupada said, even the wine drinker, if he thinks the taste is Krishna, can become a great devotee, think, oh, okay, let's go to the wine shop. And actually after hearing that, you should go to the wine shop and bring Bhagavad-gita as it is and distribute it there. And then the wine drinkers can begin to understand how to become Krishna conscious. Actually, this Bhagavad-gita gives all practical advice. Very practical. How we can see Krishna. Down-to-earth instruction. That means basic day-to-day practical instruction. It's very good that we daily read at least a little from Bhagavad-gita. Of course, we have so many other things to read. Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, very high philosophy. But for our basic guidance in Krishna consciousness, our basic problem is the same as Arjuna. We're in ignorance. So just how to understand everything very clearly and very practically and apply it in our day-to-day lives so we can be Krishna conscious. That we will get more than any other book from Bhagavad-gita as it is. We may have so many different problems and this and that, but which are produced in the mind. But when we understand Bhagavad-gita as it is, everything becomes clear. Or sometimes we become start thinking very deeply about some kind of abstruse that you can translate as sukshma philosophy, some very deep, complex question, how the primordial sound is present everywhere. I was just talking about that. It's a very deep understanding, and there's one, based on this understanding, there's so much philosophical discussion about what is the nature of sound and how sound becomes different objects, and it's all very complex. There are different philosophers who argue in various ways that actually there's nothing but sound and everything else is just imagined. So many complex philosophical understandings. So sometimes we get lost in the world of philosophy. But actually philosophy it's not meant to be just some mental exercise, but it's meant to be something practical to guide us to the goal of life, which is Krishna consciousness. So philosophy is called darshan, that means how we can see. In English there's a saying, you can't see the wood for the trees. You're so busy looking at the individual trees and what kind of tree this is and what kind of bark it has and what kind of insects are on it, and you don't realize what is the nature of the forest. So we may become so much concerned with some abstruse philosophical point and forget the real philosophy is that we're supposed to surrender to Krishna. The day before, yet again, a devotee brought to me the question, how did we fall from Vaikuntha? So I explained that, but I also said that Prabhupada, when he was asked this, he usually gave the example that when you're drowning in the ocean, your real concern is how to get out, not to try to find out how you got there. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't go deeply into philosophy, we should. But we should keep everything in the proper perspective, not simply to become philosophical word jugglers, but to always keep the basics in mind, that we are eternal spirit souls, servants of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So regular study of Bhagavad-gita as it is helps to keep us grounded. That means not just head spinning in the clouds. You have some saying like that in Telugu? There must be some saying like that. That means bookworm. Yeah. Yeah, in Bengali also, boy poker. But this is a different saying, to have your head in the clouds. Similar, yeah. Yeah, you're just thinking about, some very complex, subtle philosophy, and then, you don't even consider the very basic practical things. So Prabhupada was perfect in so many ways. One way was that he knew all the intricacies of all the different philosophies and presented that. Same time, very practical in teaching, in preaching, in acting, everything. One time, Prabhupada landed at Hyderabad airport, and a newspaper reporter asked him, "Are you a Dvaitavadi or Advaitavadi?" And Prabhupada said, "What does that matter to you? There hasn't been rain here for 2 years. Anadbhavanti bhutani parjanyadana sambhava. Why don't you consider this? That's your real problem, is not Dvaitavad, Advaitavad. You don't have any rain. Chant Hare Krishna, you'll get rain. Yagyad bhavati parjanyo." And actually that happened. Prabhupada started doing his Pandal, Kirtan and lecture program. After 2 years, rain came to Hyderabad by Yagya. So practical. Sometimes also we may become very concerned with the higher rasas of Krishna consciousness. What are Lalita and the gopis doing and all this kind of thing. So that's also, yes, this is our upasya, this is our goal of worship, to serve Radha Madhava in the kunjas. He is Kunja Bihari, he is Gopi Janna Vallabha. That is the goal of our service. But we should also know that Radha Krishna have come combined as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and by serving this form of Radha Krishna, by preaching the Sankirtan movement, then that is the way that we can approach Radha Krishna. So imagining ourselves to be a gopi will not please Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Distributing Bhagavad-gita as it is will. So that's a better way to worship Radha Krishna and the gopis, is to distribute Prabhupada's books. It's not that we're saying against rasa kata and all, but we should keep the highest goal in mind and understand how to practically serve the Lord in this world. Yes, we are very interested to attain the qualification to become Gopi Bhartu Padakamalayo Dasudas Anudasaha, the servant of the lotus, servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Krishna, who is the husband of the gopis. Yata yata Gaura Padara Vinde Vindeta Bhaktim Krita Punya Rashi Tata Tatot Sarpati Hridya Kasmat Radha Padam Bhoja Sudhena Rashi. Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati, who is Tunga Vidya Sakhi, one of the Ashta Sakhis who's coming here, he has stated how to attain Radha Bhav, or love for Radha. He has stated that Yata Gora Padar, wherever there is devotional service at the lotus feet of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, then automatically the flood of nectar of Radha's bhakti to Radha, that will automatically follow. So that is very practical, how to understand Krishna in Vrindavan. One of the devotees who helped Srila Prabhupada very much in the early days of establishing the movement was Guru Das Prabhu. Guru Das. He was one of the first devotees who Prabhupada sent to start preaching in London, which was done very successfully. And afterwards Prabhupada sent him to Vrindavan to help establish the now famous Krishna Balaram temple there. So he was overseeing the construction of that temple. which was, everything in India was much more difficult in those days. What kind of cement are you using here? BLO white or what is it? There's so many different brands you can choose. Okay, but in those days there weren't any brands because there was restricted production and the government had it on quota only. Ration, yeah. Sugar was rationed and cement was rationed, everything rationed. Milk you couldn't get, except in Bangalore. Milk wasn't available. So many things, so many shortages. So Guru Das was overseeing the construction of this temple, and then one time he went to meet Prabhupada in Delhi. He hadn't met Prabhupada in Vrindavan before this. So Prabhupada flew into Delhi and he went to meet him. So they were driving in the taxi from Delhi to Vrindavan. And Guru Das Prabhu was thinking, this is wonderful. I'm with the most wonderful spiritual master going to the most wonderful place, Vrindavan. What could be better than that? And he was waiting for Prabhupada. Prabhupada was sitting in the car quietly, not saying anything. He was waiting for Prabhupada to say something. And he was thinking, Prabhupada's going to talk something about Vrindavan and Vrindavan Leela and all this kind of thing. So after some time, Prabhupada said something. Prabhupada said, cement. We have to get cement. Prabhupada was thinking how to serve Radha and Krishna by building their temple. That was his Raja Bhav. Prabhupada, he took his disciples on parikrama once, I think, but he was concerned how to establish that temple for preaching Krishna consciousness. He wanted that temple for preaching. He said the devotees staying there, they should be just like this Goswamis, 6 Goswamis. So ideal that everyone will notice and take it and follow them. So that's an example of how Prabhupada, who came from Golok Vrindavan and preached the glories of Vrindavan everywhere, how he's so much practical in his preaching of Krishna consciousness. And mostly Prabhupada, he preached on the basic principles of Bhagavad-gita. I remember once I saw a letter, some young lady devotee had written to Jayadvaita Swami, please bless me so that I can understand the loving dealings of Radha and Krishna. And he wrote back to her and said, read Bhagavad-gita as it is every day. Practical, realistic, rasoham, Krishna, raso vai saha. The Ved says that he, the Supreme Absolute Truth, is full of rasa. So that also from this verse we can take this verse, how to understand Krishna as the taste of water, and we can also go from this verse right up into higher Vrajaras. So this understanding is applicable at all levels of Krishna consciousness. I've spoken at the practical level of, from most of us, how we can understand Krishna everywhere, in everything. That is the beginning of our Krishna consciousness. That will be very helpful for us if by studying Shastra and these examples we can understand how to see Krishna everywhere and in everything. Just like Prabhupada explained once during World War II, he was sitting in his house in Calcutta. He was just about to take prasadam and the bombs started dropping. And they were calling, come to the shelter, air raid shelter. You know what that is, air raid shelter? They build something underground. In the houses in England, we used to have leftover from World War II. When they stop bombing, you go underground. You had also. So Prabhupada explained that I didn't go. He said, first I'll take prasadam. He said, I saw the bombs, that is also Krishna in another form. So if Krishna wants to deal with me in the form of a bomb, alright. That's Krishna consciousness, isn't it? And the bombs flying around and you think, this is Krishna. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra savang chamai pashyati tasyaham na pranasyami sachame na pranasyati. To see Krishna everywhere, in all places, in everything. anyone who sees like that, they are never bereft of Krishna. And Krishna also never forgets such a person. So please go on distributing these Bhagavad-gita as it is. Vijay Prabhu, who is a great world leader of book distribution, he has noted that he talks with devotees how they came to Krishna consciousness. So many of them said, by reading Bhagavad-gita as it is. So we might think it's very difficult, people may not understand, but it's making devotees. These books have their own potency which we can't understand. So please go on distributing Bhagavad-gita as it is and all the other books. Hare Krishna. Any question? No question? Then I have only one more thing to say. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram